Nigeria's security situation is lamentably unfortunate and unfortunately lamentable, going by the data and the statistics that are available to the public. It is quite worrisome that this kind of horrendous carnage, carnivalesque caravans of disruptions and bristling paraphernalia of war is happening within our country, within our clime. You know, if you go by the statistic that has been reeled out by the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, the Crime Experience and Security Perception Survey made it very clear that between May 2023 and May 2024, an estimated 51.89 million cases was recorded, and they made it very clear that 26.53 million of these cases happened in the rural areas, and the urban areas recorded 25.36 million cases, and they distributed it by regions. They made it very clear that the Northwest region recorded the highest with a 14.4 million incidents, you know, and that 14.4 million represent the 27.7% of the total crime rate, you know, and the North Central followed, you know, sharply by that numbers too. They made it clear that the record was 8.8 million in the North Central, representing clearly a 11.9% or 11.0%, and the Southeast was the least of it, with 6.18 million incidences that represented a very simple percentage. But with all this, they made it very clear that at least an average of 21 or 2.670 million was paid as ransom, and 2.23 trillion was totally spent as money for ransom. Ransom was paid to these criminals, totaling 2.23 trillion, but they yanked it off from their website, probably because they couldn't defend it and because of the public outcry. But this was one side. Because of the unavailability of data, especially specific crime report by Nigerian newspaper, we rely on angle media. You know, they do track incidences, kidnapping cases and all that. They recorded that approximately 911 cases had happened within this same period, 911 cases, and that in the first quarter of 2025 alone, that is now 11 cases, and it represents different numbers, different factions. So these cases are outrageous. The approximated amount of 911 kidnapping cases, you know, recorded by angle media, that said that between January 2025 to May 2025, 911 kidnapping cases happened. This they distributed by saying that in January alone there was 195 cases, representing 21.4%, and in February there was 241 cases, a whooping case of kidnapping. That is almost 241 cases, representing 26.4%, you know, of the total crime rate that had happened at that period. In March, there was 101 cases, representing 11.1%. In April, it went a little bit up again. They recorded 192 cases in that particular month. That was 21.1% was recorded at that time. And in May, there was 182 cases. 182 cases represented, 20.0% of crime incidents that had happened at that period. So if you look at this very well, it is sharply different from the NBS statistics that was reeled out. But the discrepancies or over survey, as you will say, by the NBS was the reason why there was a public outcry. But if you look at the number closely, you will compare it to the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project that recorded 634 killings. Then in May alone, there was a report by the Adventist News Network that 635 people were killed in May alone. 635 killings. So there were lots of people dying. They said they made it clear that between January to March alone, there was 1,420 deaths recorded. So it is not just, these are not just numbers, these are not just statistics, these are human lives, being killed, being yanked off, from the surface of the earth. In curbing security, the most important or the most tested security measure that can be able to curb security is to use those who can constitute insecurity to secure. In other words, for any community to be secured, it is the people that has to stand up to defend their community. If they leave it to the army, the soldiers, these people will not be able to effectively spread themselves across the country and curtail incidences of Boko Haram attacks and bandit attacks. If you look at a certain example from Azari in Bauchi, where the community people attacked some of the criminals and Boko Haram people that tried to kill them one certain time. They succeeded and they repelled these criminals. If you look also in Kankara local government, in Gurbi local government, in Gurbi community of Kankara local government of Katsina State, they were able to deal with some of the bandits that were trying to come into their community. If you also look in Ungwan Mantou, in Katsina, they were able to deal with these criminals that were trying to come to their community. In Mera community, in Kebbi, they were able to repel some of the criminals that were coming into their community. They were able to deal with them adequately. If you look also, there is a particular place called Isge and Warabe in Borno State. Some of these criminals were repelled. Bandits were repelled by local vigilantes and the community that dealt with them, that ambushed them. Several of this community are now rising up to defend their community. In Shanono local government, they were able to attack some of those criminals that were trying to, enter their community. In Oro Ago, in Kwara, that is, they were able to handle some of those criminals that were trying to enter Ifelodun local government. So if the community rise up to in one voice, in concerted effort, deal with these criminals will not be able to come into those communities. A community is a sizable place where you know those people that are in that community. You know their father, you know their mother, you know their origin, you know their relative, you know if they are visitors. Community can be able to handle basic information. For instance, I went to check a particular land in one community. While we entered there, the youths of that particular community followed our vehicle to ask questions, which is very nice, which is very okay. That is what communities are supposed to be doing. Communities are not to leave their security in the hands of external security who might be miles away and you expect them to come when there is an attack. No, the first point of contact, the people that must wake up, that must secure their environment, is the people in that community. It is the chief that must task themselves to know who is in that community, who they are, their identity. Personal background vetting needs to be done. If this is not done, it will be a problem because you will not be able to get adequate information. It is the community that knows strangers, that knows who are new in that particular place. If you see somebody coming to buy Fanta and bread in large sum, you should be able to immediately report that person or trace the location of that person, where that person is going. So if there must be security, the community must rise up. They must not leave this in the hands of any, just the security. Even one of the intelligence agency boss said the same thing and said that, community must be the first people to rise up, to stand up and take up arms against these criminals. The vigilante system, the vigilante method will be able to identify these criminals. If this can be done, then there will be adequate security in our community. And bandits issues will be curbed completely. This estimated number, especially the ones recorded by Global Sentinel, that said that since there are average cases of 182 cases of kidnapping every month, it means that if certain measures are not put in place, a lot of things can go wrong. It can skyrocket. By the Global Peace Index, Nigeria is said to be the 19th least peaceful country, and by the Global Terrorism Index, Nigeria is number 8, which is not looking good at all. Average cases of 182 cases, especially in the northwest and the north central regions that has been recorded, shows clearly that if something is not done, there will be a problem. Number one, the lifting of the ban on mining in Zamfara and other issues may strengthen, terrorism, kidnap cases, and banditry that is happening along that region. But if this is corrected on time, by virtue of some of these policies that has been brought in place, their forecast, Global Sentinel forecast for 2025 was that due to this lifting of ban and few other things, the thing was going to increase drastically. But if you look clearly, there was a 4.91 trillion release of budget, for defense and security, which is very, very good. And the initiative called the State Security Trust Fund, especially for Lagos, Enugu, and all these places, can mitigate a lot of kidnapping cases. But we still have to look at the things that are essential to be done for there to be security and some of the issues that are very pertinent for us to address. I want to believe that these bandits are not operating without agents. The sleeper agents, the person that comes all of a sudden and starts staying in your community, you don't know them, you don't have any information on them, you can't trace them, there is no personal background vetting that is done by the king, by the chief, by the community leader. They allow this person to stay there. This person is the Meshai, is the may this, may that, and all that, and gathers adequate information about what is happening, the porous borders, the porous sections of that particular community. These are agents that are there. Some of these agents are even released on social media where they are, they cause confusion. These are agents of confusion, where they bring out false information, false information are reeled out, to put panic and fear in our people. We look at some of these agents too. We have double agents. Some of these agents may even be working with our own intelligence organization and also working for the adversary and gathering information, adequate and usable information, and giving to these people. But you won't know because they communicate through dead letter box, or through live drop, or through microdot, through steganography, different methods of communication that are clandestine. If we must get to the root of this, intelligence has to be done to check, especially staffs who joined the intelligence agencies for different reasons, especially those that joined for the incentives of money, but those who joined, with altruism, they didn't join for thrill or adventure. Those people are the people that should be prioritized. Those ones that join for incentives, for personal gain, for ego, should be checked properly because there can be double agents.